Hey Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that sub button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the content that we have coming out. And I'm actually kind of excited to get into this line because today's video is going to be covering the Immortal Hulk Flatline, issue number 1. Now, I know there's a lot that's been going on with the Hulk line. There's been a lot of different things, multiple different Hulks. If you haven't been keeping up with the lines, it's really hard to know what's going on. But with this story, we're getting one creator, which is Declan Shalvey. He's the writer, artist, did the cover. So it's one creator, one Hulk, one awesome story. And so he writes and draws Immortal Hulk and gets behind the heart of Gamma. Now, this story is taking place with Bruce Banner waking up every morning in a new place, and the Hulk's trying to tell him something. And with that being said, let's dive into this issue. Alright, so getting into this one, we see Bruce Banner walking around what seems to be a desolate rural area, and he tells us, what's that saying? The one about depression, that it's anger turned inwards. And he can relate to that, at least in some regards. But how much anger are we actually talking about here? The Hulk is a bottomless pit of anger, an endless flow of rage. So he has to wonder what happens when someone eternalizes all of that rage. And this is when he wakes up. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Another random location in the middle of nowhere. Every morning it's like this. He wakes up in a new spot, never his own bed. So whatever Hulk is up to during his time, he keeps leaving him to wake up in awkward places, but always in time to make it to work. So at least he's considerate in some regards, at least to Bruce Banner's expectation. And he's gotten to the point that he keeps clothes at work just because this has become so frequent. And in another life, he was a scientist with multiple PhDs, but here everyone calls him Dish Boy because that's all he is. He's a dishwasher. But the thing is, they don't ask him questions here. When he shows up with torn pants, no one says anything. And they pay under the table, so it helps him stay off the grid. And right now, he's just going through the days, day by day, until nighttime comes and the Hulk takes over. And as he's sitting here going through his rotations of his daily routine, he hears someone say his name. Someone say Bruce. And he can feel the gamma radiating off of her. And he turns around and realizes that it's his professor, his mentor, Professor Noreen Nolan. She was a lecturer at his college and ended up being one of the early analysts for the Gamma program. And he's honestly shocked, it's been such a long time, he didn't even know that she was still alive. And she asked, just barely alive, but I'm still alive, and then asked if they can sit down. And so they sit down and have a conversation, and just asking how each other have been. And she tells him, I didn't expect you to end up in this place. And he lets her know, I just do this for the money, the purple pants aren't cheap. And that's what she asks, that's not what I mean. What happens when you leave here? And he lets her know that's complicated, and she says, no, this isn't complicated. I'm not talking about him, I'm talking about you. Where do you go when you're all alone? And he just says, I wait. And she can kind of bond with him on this because she knows that, she's an old lady. She's going to die, and she's literally just waiting for her fate to come for her. And he tells her, the Hulk can't die though. But me, I die every single day. And then he brings up the question, I can feel the gamma radiating off of you. What happened? How is that possible? And so after the incident where Bruce Banner got his powers, they needed someone to go in and clean up. Someone familiar with the project. And so she ended up exposing herself to the gamma. And he asks if there's any side effects. And she vaguely says you could say that, but then changes the subject. And she tells Bruce, what you are up to is the question, Bruce. You're not listening, and you've been through so much, you look terrible. And this is when he realizes the time, and he has to get going. And he goes to take off to rush because he's about to change. He's got it down to an exact time of day at this point. And this is when he sees some drunken outside bothering some woman, not letting her get into her truck. And he goes to interfere to only get punched in the face. And then the man turns around only to see the Hulk. And the Hulk smashes down, seeing the truck fly off in the distance and everyone go flying. And we can see this Hulk can actually articulate really well. And he's talking in like full sentences and things of that nature. And he takes this guy and he crushes him up into a truck and just boots it. And the girl that he was defending in the first place gets mad because that was literally her truck. And the Hulk's just like, no one is ever happy. Like, why bother? And this is when the professor's like, you know, is that any way to treat a person? And the Hulk's just like, yeah, well, that's a way to treat that person. And this is when the professor's like, you know what? You know what that man did to Bruce then. Like, I thought you guys weren't talking to each other. But they both hear. But Hulk says that Bruce won't listen. And the professor's just like, man, you guys both need a freaking smack. And the Hulk's response is, who's gonna give it to me? And that's when the professor knocks Hulk straight across into a train yard. And the Hulk wasn't expecting that. Or to see her floating with like a telekinesis power. And so seemingly this is the side effects that happened when she was exposed to the gamma. And she's definitely just ringing the Hulk's head, hitting him with steel beams, raining down shards of glass on him, but she's trying to get through to him. She's trying to talk to Bruce. And more, this is just enraging the Hulk. And this is when she takes a train and hits him. And he goes flying. They go flying through the sky. And she's letting the Hulk know, like, I just want to help Bruce. And if he's not going to listen to you, maybe he'll listen to me. And the Hulk says, like, we don't need you. I protect Banner. But her thing is, like, how do you protect Bruce from himself? He was supposed to make the world a better place, to break it into something that's not so evil. And she tells the Hulk, you know, maybe it's you who's getting in the way. And this high up in the sky, looking like they're 30,000 feet up, she sends the train flying down to the ground and smashes the Hulk. Only for the Hulk to see exactly where Bruce Banner shows up every time the Hulk takes over. And now the Hulk understands why Bruce Banner has been so feeling afraid. And then he comes back up and the professor lets him know there's a thin green line between the man and the monster. And you think that line stretches on to infinity, but not as it stands. It reads more like a flat line. And this is when the Hulk picks up a boulder and comes bringing it smashing down on the professor. And we see a literal boulder just smash into pieces, thinking that he's won, only for the professor to come out from underneath this boulder and give him a good blast. And she looks like she's literally tearing him to pieces, you know, letting him know this isn't a problem that you can smash your way out of. Without Bruce, what holds you together? He won't listen to you, but what is it you've been trying to say? And this is where we see images of the Hulk. The Hulk attempting suicide over and over and over again every single night. From car wrecks to drowning himself to trying to hang himself. But nothing has worked. And a few words going through his head saying, I know what you're doing, you're not alone, and I'm always here. And this is when Bruce Banner wakes up in a random location again, or at least he believes it to be, until he looks over the ledge to see the hospital. And he doesn't really know why he's here, but this is when he sees his professor is in the hospital, and she looks pretty beat up because the gamma radiation has affected her. She's got gamma poisoning, cancer, and her final words are, I'm done waiting, big man. We're not alone, not anymore. And with that, the professor flatlines. And what keeps Bruce Banner and Hulk apart is the same thing that holds them together. The gamma. It connects them all. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You know, this was a fun story. I'm really interested to see where it's going to go and what they're going to tell us about the gamma. Maybe it's something new. I'm hoping it's something new. You know, we've gotten so much information about gamma and how it works and all these things so far. I don't know what fresh they're going to bring to this. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. What do you think this storyline is going to offer us up that we haven't already found out about the Hulk? If you haven't yet, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and until the next video,